Okay. It's so nice to have you on. So you have been on Netflix Goop Lab. You have been a speaker at Tony Robbins. You have been featured in so many magazines and websites and everything I can imagine. Tell me, why is your blueprint so life-changing? Like your work is changing people's lives. And I went through your quiz years ago, which really helped me. I think I'm a shapeshifter, if I remember correctly. But it helps so much. Can you tell us a little bit about who you are and what you do and how your work impacts people?
Mhm. Absolutely. My pleasure. And it's such a pleasure to be here with you and just like feel all the energy and just, yeah, so
No, I'm so
delightful.
excited.
Yeah, so many people come up to me and say, "Oh my God, it changed my life. Like this changed my life." And I think it's had such a big impact because it's a recognition of who we are erotically, and there's no shame in it. And I think that permission that it gives people and language that it gives people of like, oh, here's who I am when it comes to my eroticism, and here's who my partner is. And then we can begin to start to talk about it and open up the conversation. And I think just starting to open up that conversation then puts people on a journey to their own sexual awakening and how pleasure actually fuels our aliveness and our life. And so it's so much bigger than what we think. Like sex is so much bigger than what we think that it is. But the journey of sexuality and pleasure is so much more than what we've defined it as. We have such limited definitions. And so as people start to have those ahas and things that open up for them,
Yeah.
it changes your life. It creates transformation. And that's always been I guess, a goal or a passion, a mission is to awaken ourselves to the possibilities of what exists and what sexuality actually is and how pleasure can fuel our lives. So that's been really impactful. And I think it really resonates with people.
That resonates with me 110%. And I think that so often pleasure, sex, those types of things, it just kind of gets swept under the rug, and that desire has so much shame attached to it.
Hmm.
Can I ask you this? How do we, because I've been working with couples for a long time myself too. And one of the things that I've researched is one in every four couples is having an affair. And I think it's because there's so much shame around bringing what we truly desire or what really
Hmm.
pleasures us to our partner. Can you speak more to that and how we can kind of detach shame from sex or desire or pleasure?
Hmm. Yeah, part of it's cultural. Part of it is that we've grown up in this culture where sex isn't allowed, it's not okay to talk about, it's hidden. And anytime we have to suppress something or hide something, the energy comes out sideways instead of in right relationship. And so when we talk about like, oh, we have shame, and so therefore we're going to keep using our willpower instead to push it down, as opposed to looking at, well, what is this thing shame? How does it feel in my body when I'm feeling ashamed of my pleasure or myself or don't want to have the conversation? What shows up? Do my cheeks get hot? Do I get tense in my body somewhere? And start to actually work with the body sensations that arise. Start to work with what starts to emerge in that first moment. And then in that first moment, then we can catch it. And then
Mhm.
we can start to unravel, well, why am I experiencing this shame? And we don't always have to look backwards. We can just start to have a pleasure practice, just a pleasure practice every day of being like, okay, I'm just going to start with touching my hands, or today I'm going to talk to my partner about one thing. Dyads are my magic thing to help people open up this conversation, to really create a safe container, because it isn't about having the conversation so much as it is about being understood. And when we're understood, I think shame can start to quiet a little more, and we don't have to use so much of that willpower to keep those desires like that we're afraid of or ashamed of down. And I hear this from women all the time that, oh my gosh, if I unleash my sexuality, I'm going to be out of control. I'm just going to be like it's in pleasure like all the time. And I'm like, great. And I think the fear is like if we unleash these things or if we get rid of shame, and I think there is healthy shame and there's also unhealthy shame. And the unhealthy shame is like, I'm bad. And it's a belief that you're taking on that you're bad for your desires. So I mentioned dyads with couples. So I'm just backtracking to that. The dyad format is it's to understand each other, not necessarily to agree with each other. And so
Mm.
you could do a simple dyad. Tell me something you want me to understand about you and sex. that really simple thing, going back and forth with your partner, can help you just feel like you're seen and understood, and release some of that shame and release some of that you've been pushing down, maybe, so that you can come into healthy, right relationship with your sexuality.
Oh, I love that so much. And when you're talking about this, I mean, that question, it just like was, okay, tell me what you want me to understand about what pleasures you or turns you on. And I
Mhm.
think there's so much shame around it, like, oh, my partner will be jealous, because I think it's a natural thing to be kind of attracted to others, but there's also that containment. Okay, I'm going to share this specialness, this sacredness with this
Mhm.
partner or whatever turns you on. But in that question, how do we feel safe enough to open up with our spouses when culturally there's so much shame around sharing our desires? I mean,
Mhm.
you know, and I think that pleasure in itself, like I think for me, 12 years ago when I started all of this, that was a big thing for me to start doing things that please me. And it sounds counterintuitive, like I'm just going to do what pleases me, what brings me joy, and that's where the ship is going to go.
Mhm.
And it ended up bringing in my soulmate, it ended up bringing in finances, it ended up bringing health and vitality back. And I've been married for a long time now, and I feel like well, since 2018, but I feel like it's so important to connect, like you're saying, that communication. Hey, what turns you on? If you weren't afraid of my response,
Uh-huh.
tell
Yeah.
me what turns you on.
Right.
'Cause do you feel like that's where affairs start? Is it because I've been researching this a lot, and one of the things that I found is that I think most affairs take place when we stop going to our partner with our desires, with that
Mhm.
repression. Like I'm just gonna
Mhm.
repress this, I'm gonna bury it deep down, hope it
Mhm.
doesn't come back up, but it does. So can
Mhm.
you speak to that a little bit?
Yeah, I mean, I think people are looking for aliveness. And when I often say I don't teach sexuality, I teach aliveness. And so we're looking for that spark. We're looking for that aliveness. And what does an affair give you? It makes you feel alive again. All of a sudden, there's a lot of energy in it. And so, how can you, in your relationships, have that need for aliveness felt? And then you were also talking about that safe space, that safe container to go to your partner to talk about that.
Mm.
Part of that is about regulating the nervous system. Can both of you regulate your nervous system enough that you don't react, that there isn't this feeling of trigger? Is there enough stability and safety? Or can you both just be really responsible for the reaction or the trigger and not put it on your partner, so that you're really creating that container for safety? Because oftentimes what I see is like, oh, I'm mentioning that I have this desire or this thing that I want sexually, or I want to be in more pleasure. And then there's a reaction from the partner, which then just shuts it down, right? So then we don't feel safe to keep having that open conversation. And I am responsible for my reaction. I like, if my partner comes to me and says, I want to try this new fun thing in the bedroom, or I'm having this issue with blah, 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 or I'm feeling dissatisfied, then I'm responsible for how that I react. And I love the word responsibility because it's the ability to respond.
Yes.
And when I'm regulated, then I am more able to respond. And that, I think that regulation is everything. I mean, that's part of how we create really secure attachment in relationships that let us blossom into big ecstatic sexual pleasure, or more ecstasy in our lives, is by having that grounded stability first.
Yes. Oh, I love that so much. That's such a hot topic right now. I think everyone that I know is talking about regulating their nervous system. And can you speak a little bit more how you would do that before you're with your partner? Like, what do you and your partner do to
Mhm.
stay regulated together and kind of, because it just seems like sometimes I've seen couples and it's almost like roommates. It's like they're just it just do they're checking off a list of things they have to do, but they're not feeling turned on by each other. And in your writings that that I've been reading, one of the things that you say is that desire is like your vitality,
Mhm.
your life force. And I think in so many religions and so many cultures, we're being told to shut down this desire, to turn it off. And I know for me, I can't turn it off. It's like this this thing that just is blossoming within me, and I want to continue to let that blossom. So when it comes to regulating our nervous system and sex, who knew that they could be so connected? Can you speak more on
Yeah.
that?
Yeah, so practices that I do, I mean, I have so much energy, right? All that life force energy just wants
You
to
do.
come
I can feel it.
burbling out of me. And in Tantra traditions, it's like it's the Shakti energy. Some people call it like Shakti Kundalini, but it's what animates us. And to me, it's also like what manifests. And so that energy to have a stable ground so that I don't fry out my nervous system because so much wants to move through me. It's just like it just feels like universes want to move through.
Yeah.
One of my practices, and I actually just took a 3-day workshop from Dr. John Churchill, and he was talking about this relationship with the ground. And this was a new aha for me just recently, where I was like, oh, the ground is always there. The stability of the ground is always there, and I'm sitting on the ground or I'm standing on the ground and I'm in relationship with the ground.
Hmm.
And so this has now become like the way that I start my day to just get myself completely regulated, is that the ground is there. And if we think of the Mother Earth, and we think of the mother is there holding me, and what's our first thing in our nervous system? We need to feel held.
Mm.
And so this just was like this aha that the ground has always been there and the ground is trustworthy. So that's one of my practices. Breath is another practice, making sure I do a full exhale. So as I inhale, often if I'm starting to get dysregulated, I'm not exhaling all the way, which is what creates panic in the system. So starting to make sure that I have these long, slow exhales, and then I exhale 3 more times at the end of it. Let's all try it together. So
Yeah,
everybody
let's do it. Let's
take a
do it.
deep breath, and then exhale. And when you get to the end of the exhale, do 3 blows out. There's more air in there. Good. And we're going to do it one more time. And this time when you blow out, like feel it come out your pelvic floor, almost like you're pressing down with your pelvic floor. You're bearing out with the pelvic floor, like a reverse Kegel. So inhale, exhale all the way out, and then blow it out 3 more times as you push down. Yeah, and then just feel the solidity,
Oh
like feel
yeah.
how solid that feels in the body. And then that allows more ecstasy to come in, if I start to feel that, or if I'm starting to get like triggered from something, then I can just do a breath, like take some time. I think it's okay with relationships. Like if you're starting to feel your heart rate go up, you're starting to feel that you're wanting to react, go, whoop, wait, pause, take that holy pause and say, I need to do a breath, or I need to go like have some space. I'm not going anywhere like I'm not leaving you. I'm not abandoning. I just need to get a little moment to get regulated so I can come back to this conversation. Because once the heart rate goes up, this is going offline, and you're now in reaction, and you're not actually in the place of being responsible for your own experience.
Ooh, I love that so much. I love what you said about the breath. I'm not sure if you guys felt it. Say yes in the comments if you felt it. And give me a little heart. Tell me where you're tuning in from. I know we have people on Zoom, but we're also live on Facebook. If you want to go there and comment there, that's the best place to go. And one of the things that you talked about was the breath, and we breathe these 20,000 breaths a day, but it is so rare we bring our attention to our breath. And so you being able to say, okay, I just need to regulate before I go to my partner, or when that trigger, when that anger, when that projection or blame comes up, before I do that, how do I get connected first? That's beautiful. And, because taking 5 minutes, I think, silent treatment, it doesn't work well. But if you say, hey, I just need 5 minutes, just give me
Mhm.
some time just to regulate myself, and then I can come back to you. Now, when it comes to being like, you just rooted me. So I literally, even just from that, like squeezing and like bringing that breath down there, I could like feel my tailbone and tug a little bit. So
Uh-huh.
our ability to be able to just be grounded in our body, does that create, because, desire is not just in the bedroom, it's life force, it's life, it's health, it's that vitality. And so the things that you're saying, like, because I love this, you're giving us tools that we can apply right away. I'm writing them down. I love them so much, which was what, if you weren't afraid of my reaction, what would you open up and tell me what really turns you on? Whether it's, this or that. It doesn't mean we have to go out in the real world and do it. It just
Right.
means I get to share it with you. And then that's
Mhm.
going to dissipate the energy. So I don't have to do this, by myself. That's not communion. That's not connection. And then regulating your nervous system. And I love what you said. Your responsibility, is your ability to be able to respond in those moments, in those relationships when you're reaching out for connection. And so when you're working with people, because your work with the blueprint and those types of things that you did on sex, on being able to really get turned on in your life, what would you say is like a few key things that we can start to practice with ourselves? You've already given us so much, but is there a few other things that you could give to us where we could start to bring and allow more pleasure in our life without guilt? Because
Mhm.
I see a lot of women and men associate pleasure and guilt. It's like they're over top of each other. Does that
Mhm.
make sense?
Yeah, I think it's important to uncouple those,
Yes.
decouple those.
Yes.
And one of the ways that I do that is just finding pleasure in every moment that I can. Is it the sunlight? Is it the wind in my hair? Is it something beautiful that I'm looking at? What is it that I can make pleasure easy instead of I only experience pleasure if and there are certain conditions, the kids are out, we're on vacation, like what are the conditions? So making the conditions easier for pleasure, because I think a lot of us make it like, oh, now we're in the container and we're having sex, and that like to me it's integrated into my life. And then, another thing is really knowing who you are erotically. I think that takes the guilt out and the shame out as well. We talked about the blueprints a little bit, but your blueprint type really shows you who you are. And then you're like, oh, well, then I'm not ashamed of that. But it also shows you the map for your own pleasure so that you can start to have practices around that blueprint and things that are bringing you delight and joy and pleasure every day. Yeah, I think we almost have like it's not just pleasure, it's also like being happy and being joyful and like these really positive emotions. We almost have a shadow around it sometimes. I saw this video of one of my friends today. He said it was so funny. And he was barfing rainbows. Like it was like an app or something. And it was just barfing rainbows. And I was like, I feel like people can't handle if like we're barfing rainbows all over the place. So I'm orgasming rainbows.
I love that.
But so can we bring it out of the shadow? Can we live in a world where peace, love, joy, abundance, kindness, pleasure, like these things are just part of our lives and we're stepping into the reality of the self that lives there.
I love that so much, bringing that kind of ecstasy into life. It's a new thing because I think so many people are committed to negative thinking or suffering or those types of thoughts. It's or culturally or conditioned to kind of go there. But what you're saying, and it's in her background. Who can feel the energy come exuding on? Look at her colorful background. It's just like it's life. It's blooming. And so, would you say that, you know? Sex, being turned on because I'm always talking about the energetic chakras and how when your sex chakra is blocked, you have trouble with money. And
Hmm.
so when people who are, you know, wealthy, normally they're pretty turned on by life. They're
Uh-huh.
pretty turned on by things. Would you
And
say
there's a
that's
charisma.
yes? Yes. Actually, that's one of the traits. If you look at, okay, what are the traits of someone who is really successful? It's charisma. It's that charisma of life, that enthusiasm. So tell me, would you say that that's true, that sex, and because I want to hit not just on sex and desire, but I like hitting everything, so health and money. How are these all connected? Because they are connected,
Of
yes.
course, of course. So
Oh,
your sexuality, when our libido starts to go down or there's less desire, oftentimes that's a signal of something going on in the health in our health. And
okay.
it's often a first sign, like, erectile function for men. When
Yeah.
that starts to shift, that can be an indicator of heart issues or circulation issues. So when our sexuality starts to go offline, that can be a little flag for how it's then connected into bigger health challenges. And so very, very, the two are very, very connected. I know so many women right now are going through menopause or perimenopause. And that is such a hot topic right now and around sexuality because of how that affects libido, desire, vaginal health. Like there's just so much there to unpack. We could do a whole episode on that. But yeah, so health and sex very much tied together. And I feel like also hormonally, when our body thinks it's still reproducing, those are youth hormones. Our sex hormones are our youth hormones. And so
Okay.
people are always like, how do you have such great skin? How do you look so young? And it's like,
You look so young. Man, I know it's like not supposed to. Can I ask how old you are?
I'm almost 50. I'm almost in the 50.
Does she not look extraordinary? Can you guys say yes in the comments on Facebook? Like you look so young. There's so much life coming from you.
Yeah, and so that again, that like that for me is more than I'm having orgasms. It's like my O vitamin every day. The more I'm telling my body, yes, be alive. Like we're in this aliveness. So completely
Wow.
associated with each other. And then abundance. Speaking of O vitamins, I went through this thing where I did 90 days of donating my orgasm toward my abundance. Like, could my
Oh,
orgasm like help fuel my
yes.
abundance? And my team actually had like orgasm in the morning. Every morning, Jaya's having an orgasm for abundance for our company. And I tripled my income in those 90 days. Like it was the biggest breakthrough. And like that was the beginning of
Come
just like so
on.
much abundance because there's like energy of abundance, like
Yeah.
in life. Like we think about like the sun is making love to the earth every day, and that creates the abundance of growth of life. So Eros is not this compartmentalized, just like us having sex. Eros is the sun making love to the earth and a sprout coming up out of the soil. That is Eros. And that is abundant. Like we have such an abundance of life on this planet, and we're part of that. And so, yes, to me, that our pleasure is our fuel for manifestation.
Oh my God. Who's like Mike? Is anyone mic dropping in their house right now? Okay, so instead of an apple a day keeps the doctor away, an orgasm
Orgasm.
an O a day is going to take you're gonna keep the doctor away. If you're committed, say yes in the comments. Don't be shy. Come on. No, but I love this so much, and it's a thing that we don't talk about enough. And I love the freedom. You can feel the freedom in this. And actually, if I'm truly honest, in 2016 when I started all this, I read Think and Grow Rich, and it was a chapter on sexual
Chapter
trans.
11.
Yes. She's like, I've got it memorized word for word. Here we go. I love it. But yes, and I started to, fantasize because I wasn't with anybody at the time. So I was, a solo act, and I would dream that I like when I would do it and when I would orgasm, I would think of my dreams coming true. And it seems so odd. Like no one would think about your dreams coming true while you're orgasming, but when you are orgasming, you're in the highest vibrational state that you can be in. Why aren't we
Yes.
thinking more about our dreams and when we're doing that? So why this is so important to me and why I wanted to share you with everyone, my entire audience, is because I talked to so many people. I talked to 40 people last week, and I can't even tell you half of them had affairs in their relationship. And I think it's because they don't know their blueprints, or they don't know what turns them on, or they have this shame attached to telling their partner, hey, can I bring this to you? I'm feeling turned on, or I'm
Wow.
appreciating something else, and I want to share it with you instead of going outside. Is it, and there's a safety there in feeling like that. And I think so often when we grew up in our lives, we had to be so contained, Jaya, so contained. And I,
No. No containment.
and so I think that's also kind of, would you say that's also where, relationships kind of go down, or we go out because it's like we're almost feeling like I need to get some of this out. This is just too much energy. And I've heard this, tell me if it's true or not, that when we're not orgasming, when that isn't open, when that's kind of shut down. Because I actually talk with people who haven't had an orgasm in, I know it sounds crazy, probably,
Ever.
yeah, ever, or like 5 to 10 years, or they haven't had sex with their spouse in a few years or a few months,
Yeah.
or
Yeah.
things like that. And so I think about that, and I know that people don't understand, but the pleasure is directly related to your vitality, your health, and your money. And
Hmm.
so I think if more people knew that, do you think more people would be open to talking about this?
Yeah, I think we need a re-education around sexuality,
Too.
of what sex actually is. Again, this like eros and decoupling it from the limited definition of sex, of penis and a vagina, and then we go around until we have an orgasm. And I
Right.
think people are having so much dissatisfying sex, and then we're not talking about it, or we're not speaking up, we're not asking for what we want.
Yeah.
That, that's contributing too. Because if you keep having bad food, are you going to keep going back to the restaurant? You're going to go to a different restaurant. So
That's like the best description I've ever heard in my life. Please continue.
yeah, and I want to talk about something called the passion trifecta, because I think this is one of the reasons why we lose attraction in relationship. Think about the greatest attractions where it's like, oh my gosh, I have to have that. I want that so much. In the stories, like Romeo and Juliet is a great example that I think a lot of people know, where it's like, even though they weren't allowed to be together, even though like there was all this irresistible piece about being together, and this shows up in films and movies and stories over and over again. And I was like, what is it that's creating this? The
Yeah.
first thing is obstacle. We need to have a conscious obstacle. When we get married or we're in a relationship, the obstacles start to go away, and
Mm.
we have availability to each other all the time. And so we don't have an obstacle to push against, which is sometimes needed. And it could be simple things in the bedroom, like wear your panties and the panties can't come off. And that's the obstacle. Like, how do you have sex with your panties on? So like that can be like super hot and fun. The panties can't come off, but like what are other, and it creates creativity. So obstacle makes creativity. When I was in theater, we do the same thing. We have 4 obstacles in a scene, go. And then you have to work with those obstacles, which then create a blossoming of like, oh, an idea, something new. Like, let's try, the variety starts to come into the relationship.
Right.
And so, what are conscious obstacles? Like, if you're going to go on a date, don't get ready. This one ties into the next one. The second piece is mystery. So, mystery, so obstacle plus mystery. So, if we think again of Romeo and Juliet, obstacle, feuding families, we are not supposed to be together. Massive obstacle.
That's so hot, right? It's like, oh my God, no one wants us to be together. Why? Okay, wait, I want to hear all of these. I just have one question. Why is that so, like, anything that's taboo or anything that's like, oh, I shouldn't do this. Why is that such a turn on for people?
We love the taboo. We like when we can't have something, and it depends on the blueprint where this falls. So like somebody who's more energetic, the taboo, the obstacle of not being able to touch each other, for example. Like then they have to yearn, they have to long. There's all this spaciousness. And
Yeah.
that very much turns on somebody who's more energetic. Whereas like a sensual, the obstacle might be taking away a sense, like the sight, and then all of a sudden different senses come on board. And so each of us is wired just a little bit differently in how and why that turns us on. But I think that in that, having something we have to push against or anticipate, that's where a lot of the turn on is. Or if it's taboo or naughty, that's more kinky, and the kinky blueprint, where it's like, oh, we're not supposed to do that thing, but oh my gosh, we're going to do that thing. So,
Yeah,
and it's the
yeah.
buildup. It's a buildup in the system for that.
So bringing, I love what you're saying. So obstacles, creativity, variety, mystery, those were the first two. And then you said there were two more.
There's one more. So
Okay.
mystery, obstacle, and then the last one is novelty. And the novelty is something new. And like this happens all the time with couples. They do the same thing on Tuesday night. Date night, Tuesday night, we go to the same restaurant, we do the same thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so there's no novelty.
Yeah.
And in these, like again, going to Romeo and Juliet, we have the obstacle, we have the mystery, which is they even meet at a masquerade ball, where there's all this mystery. They don't know each other yet. There's like so much mystery. And then the novelty is everything's new in their relationship. Everything, they're just meeting at everything. And then you could also throw in there with novelty, naughtiness, which is
Okay.
where we're going to break the rules a little bit. So what's something that we could do that's naughty, that brings novelty, that we
Mm.
haven't tried before, something that's an edge, something that takes us out of our comfort zone. And so those three things create irresistible passion.
Ah, who say yes in the comments if you want irresistible passion in your relationships? Because I don't think people would be going outside the marriage if they had irresistible passion in the relationship now and they were able to talk about this and able to bring this to their partner. I think it's such a important piece, this passion that's missing, because when you go to talk therapy or when you go to these things, it's like stirring the pot. It's good. Do it. Look, I'm
Yes.
a coach. I'm going to talk you through stuff, but sometimes it's almost like, it's like going over the same traumatic thing over and over again. Where what you're talking about is how do we bring more play, more creativity, more fun into our life? And I think I'm not alone when I say I need variety in my relationship, or I'll explode. I will literally just I'll die. So even if like we just go to a hotel around our house, I don't care. Just get
Uh-huh.
out of the normal environment. And
Yes.
so tell me, would you say it's because I feel like as women and men like or and men on that side, can women bring this to men? Because I know we have men and women
Of
watching.
course.
So it doesn't take two to do this. One person can kind of start this process, right?
Yeah, I say that to a lot of people because they're like, "Oh, my partner's not on board, or my partner's never going to do that." And I'm like, "Well, it only takes one to start this journey." And if you start to bring it, like this is what I did with my partner because I couldn't enroll him. Like I was really struggling at this time. This is over a decade ago. I just couldn't enroll him in like, let's try this thing. I want to do 90 days of oral sex, and I kept trying all these things, and he's like, no, no way. And so I was like, I'm just going to go on the journey of being all in 100% myself, and I'm going to bring everything to this. And I did that for 10 months before I told him what I was doing. And I was like, do you notice a change in our relationship? And he was like, yes. And I was like, because I decided I was 100% all in committed. I decided I was going to go on my own journey, and I was going to figure out how to do this within myself so that I was so alive that I just became irresistible as well. And so if there were going to be a fourth thing to that passion trifecta, I was thinking about that when you said four. I was like, maybe there's a fourth.
There's a fourth. We're creating a fourth.
It would be skill.
Okay.
It would be, and I shy away from this because people get very focused on the techniques. Oh, if I just push the button and do this thing right here, if I just learn this one technique, then it's going to solve all the problems.
Yeah.
And I shy away from that because it's not about technique. It's about knowing who your partner is and knowing who you are, what your blueprint is. And then it's about what are the skill sets within that blueprint specifically that please my partner. But if I'm going to teach one skill to everyone who's listening here, that skill is attunement, awareness, and presence. Like they kind of all fall in that same category. But let's try this right now. So if you take your arm and you just place your hand like on your arm and notice everything that you feel. If you need to close your eyes so you can tune into the sense of touch even more. Notice the temperature. Notice where your mind goes. Did you just have a thought and bring it back to this feeling of your skin underneath your pads of your fingertips? Notice what happened with your breathing. Are you breathing? Because the more you breathe, the more you feel. The more oxygen you have, the more pleasure you can feel. And then just begin to slowly move your fingertips across your skin. And notice your jaw. Notice if you're holding anything tense or tight. And just let things relax a little more, bringing your awareness to your fingertips on your skin. And just notice all the things that you can become aware of, attuned to, be more present with, and then tune into your own pleasure as well. Like, what feels good under your fingertips? Or is your arm experiencing the pleasure? Just keep attuning, being aware and present. Like you're listening with your fingertips, like you have ears in your fingertips and you're listening to your skin. And take a deep breath in and then slowly open your eyes if they were closed. Yeah, that is the skill. So when I talk about skill, it's not technique. When I talk about skill, it is the skill of listening. Because if you have the skill of listening, you'll find the technique.
Oh my. Who feels a little bit more turned on? Say yes in the comments.
I do. I mean, I had so many
I
sensations
know.
going through my arms and my fingertips.
Okay, I feel more feminine too. Like
Mm.
I often feel very feminine, but sometimes I'm like, all right, take control, let's get it done, and but I feel so much softer just after that attunement,
Uh-huh.
And wow, what a skill to be able to walk away from. I mean, the daily O is something that I mean, if I'm honest, I practice that often, but I will make sure to practice it even more, thinking about my dreams. But that just pulling all of my awareness and all my attention to my arm and how my arm felt, like that's such a
Mhm.
skill that normally people are so just not here. It's nice to be so fully here with someone.
And when you're fully here, there is so much happening.
Hmm.
Like we miss it. We go so fast. We miss that attunement piece in sexuality and in pleasure, where it's like if we slow down and widen our awareness, our field of awareness, it is so much. And I actually think that's why people can't do it. It's because, or they resist doing it, is because feeling that much, we're not used to feeling that much, and we're not used to taking in that much beauty. There's
Mhm.
so much beauty in that widening of the aperture of our awareness that we
Yeah.
actually can't take it all in. And so we close down with suffering or pain or distraction or whatever else. Part of my practice is how wide can I keep widening my aperture of awareness, and how much pleasure can I let in? How much beauty can I let in? How much of myself can I let in? And keep that wide. How much can I keep that wide without needing something to lower it so that I can come back into comfort, or come back into like I can handle that much, because it's a lot. There's a lot happening in the attunement.
Oh my goodness. I have tears in my eyes just as you're talking about it because it's so who here say yes in the comments if you can feel the energy. I know I'm seeing a bunch of people on Facebook Live, and I know we have here people on the Zoom too, and I'll be sending the recording. Um, you know, with your work, with your blueprints, it's obviously changing lives, and you've just given us such incredible tools. Is there anything else? I know for me, I'm gonna start using that attunement, everything that you gave. That I'm gonna be booking a hotel this weekend for sure for me and my husband to get out of this normal environment to get some variety, some creativity in there. Um, but yeah, is there anything else that you can share with us just regarding being able, like you're saying, to allow that much pleasure in? Like it's almost like I'm asking my nervous system, like, how can I receive God's grace to that next level? Like
Uh-huh.
pleasure to be turned on is actually to be like with
Yes, it's divine. It is that you got it. Yeah.
when I think about that, I get kind of turned on when I think about God or source, or like you said,
Uh-huh.
it's like the universe birthing within you. And
Yes.
and it brings this just it's almost like this reverence to sex, to creativity, because sex is creativity, right? When we're going to
Yes.
create programs or going to create this. And I think so oftentimes, especially as a woman who owns a business, who does things, I can just get into this masculine kind of, all right, here we go. This is what we're gonna do. We're gonna but this feels lighter. This just feels softer. This is, this is why, when I work on people, they sometimes say, "Oh, I felt energy in my," I remember one guy, he's like, "I
Uh-huh.
felt energy down there. Is that okay?" And I was like, "Yeah, that's good. You're just kind of opening up all the channels that are taking place within you." So is there anything else that you would share with our audience? I appreciate you so much in the time that you took. Is there anything else that you would share with us to support us in kind of opening up to pleasure even more
Mhm.
than we already are?
Yeah, I would ask you to be aware of the pleasure that's in every moment.
Mm,
And a question that I like to ask myself is, how can this moment be even more pleasurable, or how can I enjoy the pleasure that's right here in this moment?
mm,
Um, and and just noticing that it's always here. It's always here. And you spoke to like the to me the greatest pleasure is the making love with the divine. The greatest pleasure is inviting that in. I mean, there's just nothing like that, and that feeling of ecstasy that is also creation energy. It is
mm.
pure creation energy. So and when you're creating, notice the pleasure. When you're eating, notice the pleasure. When you're in the shower in the morning, notice the pleasure of brushing your teeth. Oh my goodness, it can be complete ecstasy. Like in the morning when you think that vibration of the toothbrush, you know.
Brushing our teeth will never be the same again.
So the pleasure is always here in every single moment. It's in your breath, it's in how you move, it's in how you think. And just start to really open yourself up to that. Open yourself up to the field, because there is a field of pleasure and ecstasy and joy that is here in every moment. And can you invite it in and challenge yourself to, how much pleasure can I possibly stand? How much can I possibly stand? I've been asking this question since I was, I don't know, in my early 20s. How much pleasure can I possibly stand? And I've never found the ceiling to this. I've never found to what's possible the ceiling, and to how much pleasure we can actually receive is astounding. It always has me in awe.
Wow, that question alone is life changing. If everyone watching this would just take this and start asking that question, that would change people's lives. I know it'll change mine. Thank you so much for coming on to us. And
Such a
I know
pleasure.
you have a free quiz that I'm going to be sending to people too about the blueprint. Thank you
Mhm.
for coming on the Heal on Purpose podcast. This podcast is for people who want to heal and grow consciously and clearly invite more pleasure into their life. Thank you so much. I appreciate you coming on, and
Thank
I
you.
wish you the best. Thank you again.